Welcome to Soul Thrive, where we explore spirituality through healing trauma, shadow work, and applying the laws of the universe in order to master ourselves without the fear of the unknown. Hey guys, welcome to another episode on the Soul Thrive podcast. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. Her name is Laurie. Laurie, why don't you tell our audience what you do?
Well, I am a professional dream analyst, which means you come to me with your very bizarre, upsetting, or disturbing dream, and I help you not only make sense out of it, but I connect it to what is going on in your life, and I help you find the message, the answers, the guidance that you are actually giving yourself through the dream.
Oh my goodness, I love all of this because I'm a psychic medium, a psychic intuitive. So I sometimes it gets a little confusing for me because I'm
Mhm.
usually sometimes dreaming of events or experiences that are happening. And then of course there are other aspects of me where I'm dreaming where I guess my subconscious is trying to give me information about certain things that are happening in my life or that I have to be aware of.
Right.
So, do you kind of have similar ways of operating as well, or do you find that some people come to you because they have these two parts of themselves as well?
People come to me because they have the two parts of themselves.
Yeah.
Because the thing about our dreams is that they come from the self. They're all about the self. Like my tagline is, your dreams are messages from you to you about you in order to improve you.
Right.
But they seem so separate from the self because we do things in our dreams that we would never do or that aren't even possible to do,
Right.
and it seems like a that we did not create this. Why would I dream of, killing my neighbor with an axe? I'd never do
Right.
that,
Right.
So it does
You'd
seem
hope.
like an outside
I'm like,
source.
speak for yourselves.
Well, so it does seem like an outside source kind of feeding these movies, these stories, this information into ourself, but it's internal. It's what dreams are all internal. Most of them
Right.
are internal. And it's the way we internalize and process and figure out, navigate life and our current issues and situations and relationships.
Yeah. Oh, you have a question?
Oh, I have a
Oh, she has
question.
questions.
So I'm curious, do messages in the dreams come when we are not paying attention to ourselves, when we are not grounded? Like what is the point? What is the purpose of dreams?
The purpose of dreams is, well, dreaming is a thinking process.
Okay.
They're thoughts, and
Right.
it's a continuation of your thought stream from the day. So, as you go about your day, you're constantly thinking and you have this internal dialogue with yourself. You're driving to work, you're thinking, you're loading the dishwasher, you're thinking, you're always thinking. And so that stream of consciousness, those thoughts continue as you drift off to sleep. And then once you enter REM dream sleep, those thoughts are still happening. They're continuing, but since the brain's working differently, you're not thinking in words to yourself. You're thinking
Mhm.
in memories, you're thinking in emotions, you're thinking in storylines, you're thinking in symbols and metaphors.
Right.
But you're also thinking on a much deeper, more insightful, intuitive,
Mhm.
wise, laser focused mode on your issues, particularly the ones, I guess this is more to answer your question, particularly the issues that you suppress during the
Mm,
day and don't give enough
Right.
attention and
Right.
thought to because we're distracted. That life's
Of
going on
course.
around us. We, have to help our kids with our homework. We have to figure things out at work, and we're not focusing inward.
hmm
So then when we go to sleep and go inward, all these issues that weren't focused on or handled correctly rise to the surface, and our subconscious says, "Ha, now I got you. Let's get to
Right.
work."
hmm
Which
hmm
can be very confusing sometimes because, like, when you're looking at the symbolism of things, you have to really pay attention to, I guess, maybe what it feels like. Like, would
Mhm.
you guide your client to say, like, this symbol, like, think about what this is feeling like, and then you can address more of these aspects of whatever it is that it's trying to tell you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like one of the main questions I ask when I'm working with a client, we're walking through their dream piece by piece together. If there's something that we're not figuring out, then my go-to question is, well, there's two. How is that making you feel? Or what does that remind you of?
Right.
Mm.
Yes,
Like if
that's
there's
very
this weird sort of thing in the dream or a strange color, something that just kind of stands out and we're not figuring it out, I'll say, okay, well, what does it remind you of?
hmm
And then they may say, oh, it kind of reminds me of this cute little dress I used to wear back in the 90s. And then
hmm
that's a thread to follow. Okay, so when you wore that dress, did you wear it to go out? Did you wear it at special occasions? And so whatever the mind goes to when we go down that thread, that's where we're going to find some of the message.
Right. Because it's stringing you to make connections from past life,
Hmm.
even events or experiences. And
Yeah, it's
and
all
that
connecting
maybe
the
that
dots.
right. So that there's maybe a current theme that you're kind of in or a pattern of some sort. And
Hmm.
you have the knowledge already. Like you've already kind of gone through
Yes.
it. And so now it's an
Hmm.
opportunity for you to kind of like examine it again. I think that's a very big thing too, like even with the work that I do, because I do a lot of shadow work. So when we're doing a lot of shadow work, it is looking at these patterns and these themes and the symbolisms of things and
Hmm.
working with your subconscious and understanding that your subconscious is always giving you these insights and knowledge and wisdom and awareness and then being able to kind of say, yeah, you know what, when I was 17 and I remember this experience, now it's coming up in a dream again, I can make this connection about what's happening in my life currently. um
Yes, because you have to keep in mind the whole thing about life and the human experience is
mhm,
that everything you ever experience, everything you've ever gone through, every thought you've ever had, every kiss you've ever
right.
made, every single thing remains inside of you. And
Mhm.
your subconscious is like this huge warehouse, this huge storehouse where everything you've ever lived, thought, spoken remains
Mhm.
and becomes a part of who you are. Each piece of experience is a brick in the beautiful mansion that you are, becomes a part of you. And the subconscious, through our dreams, will borrow or shine a light on these little bricks that are our building blocks and say, well, this brick, remember this brick back in 2002. Well, that's affecting you now. There's something going
Mhm.
on that's similar now, and so what did you learn back then that you can apply now?
Go ahead.
And I wonder if it's just to go back to the earlier conversation, like I guess it's all individual, right? So because a lot of times people will text me and say, "Oh, I had a dream about snakes." And then they would go and Google it and say, "Well, this is what they represent." But is it like, no, what do snakes represent for me? That would be something different to you. That would be something completely different to you. Is that
Right,
because I know some symbols are, I guess, universal, but how would you go
right.
about if somebody was just to say, "Oh, I had this random dream about this," or like I think I had something once where I was dreaming about like dead sparrows.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
Like I would see
Yeah,
them
yeah.
on, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I would like Google things, but then it just doesn't make any sense.
Right,
So I feel like you have to go deeper into self-reflection because it's different for me versus someone else, I
right.
guess. I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, dreams are very, very personalized because they are based on our life experiences and what we are uniquely going through right now. However, there are symbols, we call these archetypes,
Right.
that
Mm,
show up in our dreams that are typical for most people. A dog typically would represent a relationship in your life where there should be loyalty, companionship, friendship,
Right.
hmm
typically. But for example, if you're a dog trainer, then that dog could represent some sort of personal discipline,
Right. It
something you're
depends on
trying to
how
train
you're
yourself
working
to
with
do.
it.
Or it could
Right.
hmm
represent
Yeah.
work.
Right.
hmm
Right.
It depends.
Yeah, that makes sense because I think too, like I look at certain things, like I'm always constantly around people and experiences. So really it's a very interesting thing. For me, it's always like I'm put into like a home or like different rooms. My dreams are always about like different rooms or
Hmm.
different homes. And then like random relationships and random connections are coming in. And I'm like, what is happening? Why am I always in these random rooms? In these random houses they feel familiar, but then I'm also feeling like confused about why I'm in these rooms, right? It's so and like that's just how my dreams come up unless it's something that I'm supposed to know. Like I know that because dreams were really big in my family. My grandmother used to dream a lot. My great grandmother did as well. So dreams were like also these messages that would come in and they would be like your deceased loved ones coming through or there's a message coming in about someone's health, or there's
Hmm.
something that you need to pay attention to. So I can kind of separate the two to be like, okay, well, this is definitely a message that I'm getting because my spirit team is coming in and giving me something, versus now I'm confused about being in a random house in all these random rooms. What do you think that would symbolize?
Okay, so you said random probably 12 times.
Yeah, right?
All right, let's do it. Let's do
But maybe it isn't random.
It's not.
Right?
But random is a common uh, adjective
Right.
that
Okay.
people
Yes.
use when telling me a dream. It was so random. And then this
Right.
random
Right.
guy, and it's, no,
Got
nothing's
it.
ever random. It seems like it because you've not connected the dots yet.
Yes. Makes sense.
But you're never in a random room. It's never a random person. Something doesn't just randomly happen. Your subconscious
Hmm.
mind is much, much smarter than that. And so
Hmm.
every single piece of your dream, even down to the color of shirt someone is wearing, has a meaning and is connected to something in your life and is part of the message, a piece of the puzzle, the big picture that your dream is trying to give you.
Hmm.
So once you break down every little thing, you'll see how it all fits together in the message and how the message actually applies beautifully to your life right now.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. I think I have to sit down and figure out what the feeling of each room could symbolize.
Hmm.
Right. And then
Or
also,
do you have is there a certain room that you tend to dream about a lot?
it's usually like I'm in this older home.
Okay.
And I obviously, for me, like, old homes could symbolize many different things for me. Tradition, growing up traditionally, culture, family, like so many of those aspects. And then I think about the random rooms. They're not associated so much with this house, but they are associated with people. And so I get these like people coming in. Oh, maybe I'm thinking about this in a completely different way. Now I'm making a connection. Because you know what? I'm thinking the home is like me as a structure, as a being who I
Yes.
represent. And then I'm
Yes.
thinking about these random homes where people come visit, and there's like, I connected to deceased loved ones, or I connect. So it's like almost like maybe a different realm. Maybe these rooms symbolize different realms for me. And they feel random because they're not tangible. Like, they're not something that I can actually convey to others to fully understand the capacity of whatever this energy is, which is conflicting for me in my day-to-day life.
Is every room like
Because
a different dimension?
I don't know if it necessarily feels like a different dimension. It could just have the symbolism of visiting these different areas or different types of energies that I tend to operate with, but I'm having a hard time relaying it in my physical reality or in my physical
Okay.
relationships.
Let's see if we can figure this out for you.
Yeah,
So, like, are these different rooms, is it like bedroom, bathroom, living room, attic, basement?
it literally is all of that. It literally is like, it could be like a bedroom or a living room. Not so much an attic,
Okay.
definitely a living room or a bedroom. I would say more in a kitchen.
And a kitchen.
In a kitchen.
Okay. So, the different rooms in our dream homes represent different parts of the self.
Okay.
Okay. So, the living room would represent what you're living with daily.
Hmm.
So, some sort of, it could be anything from an issue to a mindset
Got it.
that happens daily. You live with it, hence the living room. The kitchen is usually going to represent either the part of you that prepares, because, we prepare food in there, the planning, preparing part of you, or it can represent the nurturing part of you, because, that's where we eat and we nourish our bodies.
Hmm.
Could also represent your own diet and health. Depends on
Hmm.
what's
That
the
makes sense.
context of the
Yeah,
dream,
for
what's
sure.
going on. And then did you say bedroom?
Bedroom. Yeah.
Okay, so the bedroom can represent intimate matters. Are you married?
Yes. Married. Yes.
Okay, could represent the marriage.
Yes.
Could also just represent the part of you that is at peace and at rest.
Mm.
Your ability to put something to rest, put something to bed. Again,
Right.
depending on the
Mm.
context, of whatever's going on in the dream.
That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so ask yourself next time you get a room
yeah.
dream, What
Yeah.
typically goes on in this room?
Yeah.
And how can I apply that action, that metaphor of
Hmm.
that action to myself right now?
Right. That makes sense, especially when I'm dreaming like the home aspect of things, because the home aspect, when I'm in this old traditional type home, I'll see more of that kitchen, I'll see more of that bedroom, I'll see more of that living room. But then when I'm dreaming in the other way, more of the psychic realm aspect of things, the rooms don't feel so defined. Like they're
Hmm.
really, it doesn't feel so defined. It feels like I know it's a room, I'm contained in a space, but it doesn't represent much of what that other aspect would represent.
Okay, I wonder if in those, because you have this duality,
Yes.
if the ones where it's not quite as defined, it might be more about the energy rather
Mm.
than the psychological element. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right. I think that makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
And
Ye-
what if this is, I mean, I'm just curious. What if you don't dream or don't remember your dreams? Because that's my, I mean, I'm sure I dream, and
Mhm.
sometimes I do when I remember, but very, very rarely do I remember a dream. So, like,
Really?
what would you, yes, like
We're gonna
it's,
have to correct
Yeah,
that.
I keep telling her that
I'm
too.
like, I have to be dreaming. I just,
Right, you are. You are,
Yeah.
unless you have a neurological issue, you dream every 90 minutes throughout the night, every single
Wow.
night. You're having a
Okay.
dream. So you're having about 5 dreams a night, I assume, if you're getting good 7, 8 hours
mm-hmm,
of sleep. Okay.
mm-hmm,
So that's a lot of life that you're missing out on because dreams are another life,
mm-hmm.
and also a lot of really important messages and guidance. So here's what you do. Like, how do you typically wake up in the morning? Do you just, alarm goes off, you get up, start your day?
Lately, no alarm, just 6:15, body
You wake
just
up
gets up.
naturally?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you wake up, how long do you stay in bed before you actually get out of the bed?
I don't stay in bed for more than a couple of minutes, I would say. I'm up.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
why you're not remembering your dreams
Hmm.
because
Oh,
you're not staying in that
wait.
magical moment.
Oh, see, I stay for an extra 40 minutes, even if I'm up.
Girl, that means I have to wake up at 5:30 to stay in bed for 40 minutes. Okay,
All
but
you really need is to give yourself an extra 5 minutes.
okay.
Okay.
If you can
Yeah.
do longer than five, great, but at least 5 minutes whenever you wake up in the morning.
Okay.
And don't move. Stay in the exact same position you woke up in because that's a position your body was in when you were dreaming. If you
Mm-hmm.
roll over or pull the sheets off, you're unplugging yourself from the dream you were literally in seconds ago.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
stay, and there's the muscle memory
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
of, just the way the body works, the body and the mind connection. So when you wake up, do not move, don't open your eyes, don't think about anything. Stay exactly where you are. 'Cause that's a magical few moments where you're kind of in between and you can still capture that dream and let the dream come back to you. And then whatever you remember, even if it's just a feeling, or maybe there's a song on your mind, or maybe you just
Mm-hmm.
remember something about a red car. Great. Write it down.
Hmm.
Do this every morning, and it's like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. And then you'll start remembering more and more of your dreams every morning.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll do that because
Yeah.
I only ever, I feel like it's the times in my life when I'm disconnected the most or when I have to hear a message is when I'll actually wake up sometimes out of a dream and I'm like, I feel like I'm living in it. Like it was so vivid and it was so crazy.
Right.
And I would wake up with those emotions that I'm like, ah, okay, I get it. I know what's happening. But that happens once every 2 years.
Oh, that's no.
I
We need
know
to. That is
Laura's
not
like,
good
you
enough.
need to be dreaming
every single
every
day,
single
5 times a
day.
night. No, but it's
Right.
that's fair because I mean, I don't know. I think that's people often wonder, like, whoa, I'm guess I'm just like not dreaming or whatever. So that's good to know.
Mhm.
I
I
think it's
will
a
take
great
that.
message for a lot of people to put in the energy and the effort to really connect with their dreams because I do feel like it's so amazing to be able to access that part of you and
It's a
heal.
superpower.
It's so
Is your
amazing. It's like
it's your
you're,
superpower. Yeah.
yeah.
And
What?
also to help that along, keep a journal on your bedside or
Mhm.
keep your
Hmm.
phone ready to record something because you got to capture it and you don't want
Hmm.
to lose it because you could remember it and then you get up, you have your coffee, and then you have your breakfast, and then you've lost it.
Right.
Because dreams by nature are short-term memories. So you have
Hmm.
to capture them and document them, or they're
Hmm.
gone within like 90 seconds.
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
What about individuals who dream? Like, I often get my clients, and I do communicate this a little differently with them because we're, again, working with shadow emotion, or we're working with the subconscious and from a
Yeah.
different point of view. But they'll be like, I dreamt about my ex and, or like this soulmate that I had, or like, and I'm like, that's great. For me, I'm like, that's that. Sometimes they're like, I think they're dreaming about me too, or they're feeling me too,
Right.
or they're connecting with me too. And I'm like, maybe, but maybe we need to examine what that person represented for you at that
Yes.
point in time or at that point of experience. And how is it maybe, I guess I'm assuming, reflecting your life now?
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's
Right.
rare that, and that's something that you see these all memes all the time that say, "Hey, if you dream of someone, it means they're thinking of you." No. That's
Right.
that's not a good thought to have because
Mhm.
it can make people contact an ex that really needed to stay out of their life.
Right.
It's and just open up
Totally.
a whole nother can of worms.
Yes. A
So
hundred
they're an
percent.
ex for a reason.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
a lesson. So you
Right.
take the lesson, not the ex with you. You
So
know?
true.
That's a good quote. Take the lesson, not the X.
Take the lesson, apply it now. Don't repeat the cycle. Don't repeat the pattern
Right.
again.
Yeah. So
That's so
just
interesting.
ask yourself, okay, what is it about that person that you remember?
Hmm.
Where does your mind go when you think of that person? What do you remember about them? How do they make you feel? What stands out? And then whatever it is that comes to mind, you got to connect the dots to your current life. How is something going on right now that feels similar? Or is
Hmm.
something going on right now where I need to remember the lesson I learned back then?
Hmm.
Or am I falling into an old pattern again? There is definitely something now
Right.
that you can learn from back then. And that's why your subconscious brought it up.
So, what are the common themes that you see that people tend to dream about?
Okay, so there's a lot. The X
Right. The X is
is
number
super
one. I would say
popular.
it's like the highest. Like,
Yeah, the X is super popular.
yeah.
Let's see, the school dreams, what do you get those?
Sometimes I think, well, I've made a connection that if I do get a school dream, like I'm in my shame. Like I'm
Oh,
totally like feeling embarrassed and shamed about something. Don't know why, because
hmm,
school years weren't that awful, but I did have a lot of struggles through my like years. So whenever I do have a school dream or I dream about like people from the past with school associated, yeah, I tend to
Hmm.
get like anxious. Like there's an anxiety with it for sure.
interesting.
Yeah.
So perhaps the school setting for you would be about there's a lesson to learn.
Yes.
Educate
100%.
yourself
Yes.
on why
Totally.
you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
But most often, archetypically, of course, it always depends on your own personal circumstances and whatnot, but archetypically, school dreams are most often connected to job or career
Mm.
stress
Hmm.
because school is your first job and it's where you learn the dynamics of what a job takes you. You have to be on time, you need to be prepared, have done your
Right.
homework. There is a social aspect. You want to be
Hmm.
liked and fit in. And you
Hmm.
also want to keep on moving on up to the next level.
Hmm.
So whenever you get a school dream, I always say just start with your job or career first and
Hmm.
ask yourself if the stress you're feeling in the dream or whatever the obstacle is or whatever the problem is in the dream, does it seem similar to what you're dealing with at work? For example, a common one is where you can't find your class or you can't find your locker and the bell's about to ring and you've got this time pressure.
Right.
So you've got this sense of not being where you're supposed to be and you're up against the clock. So
Hmm.
how does that fit with your job or your career? Are you not in the career you feel like it's a good fit where you're
Hmm.
supposed to be? Is time running out? Are you getting older?
Right, 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 right. That makes sense. Oh
Yeah,
God,
so
there goes the anxiety.
Yeah.
yeah.
What about the deceased loved ones? Is
Mm.
that a thing? Yeah, that must be a theme too.
Oh yes. Now, every time you dream of a deceased loved one, it does not mean it's them. Most of the time,
Mhm,
they represent a period in time when they were in your life
mhm,
or some quality you both share. So if you dreamt of your grandma and grandma was very stubborn and you happen to be just as stubborn as her. So she
mhm.
can represent that part of you. But I do believe wholeheartedly, I know that deceased loved ones can communicate while we're in the dream state,
Yes.
Mhm.
particularly in the first year after their passing.
Yes.
Mm.
That I can
And
confirm as a
and and,
medium.
and the first dream you get of them after they've passed, the initial contact dream, sometimes that's all you'll ever get,
Yeah.
and you never
Yeah.
have that contact again. But they come through, and these dreams feel different than
Yes.
other dreams. They feel different. It doesn't feel like a dream.
Hmm.
And it's even more intense than a real life experience. It's just different.
Yeah.
And they look their best. And they usually come with some sort of message like, I'm still here.
Hmm.
Everything's fine. A lot of these dreams I've noticed take place in the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah. I never thought about that, but you may have a point there. Yeah.
Yeah, they take
Is it
place
the
in the kitchen.
nurturing aspect or?
Yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
just like all
feeding
family
the
coming
Yeah.
soul.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That makes
And
sense.
those dreams never leave you. Every detail, the feeling, everything is like it just happened.
Hmm.
And you just know and you feel better,
Hmm.
and they come through and they let you know I'm still going on.
Yeah, I do love that. I do love when my clients tell me that too. Like, oh, I had a dream of so and so. They came in. I also notice sometimes people will dream. I've had clients come to me and say, I dreamt of my grandmother and I just found out I was pregnant. So like there's a
Hmm.
connection there, like the symbolism of like, this like mother energy coming in, that nurturement, that symbolism, and then they found
Yeah,
out you were pregnant, right? So it's like kind of like that subconscious telling them as well. But then, I don't want to take away from them not necessarily having connected with their deceased loved ones, because that
right.
could have been true too, like that example or experience. So it's
Mhm.
very, very interesting.
I'm curious maybe to end on this question because I wanted to ask this since the beginning. How did you realize that you had this ability and how do you help your clients? Is it more of an intuitive standpoint? Like I'm just curious as to how you became a dream psychologist.
Well, what put me on this path was a contact dream from
Mm,
my grandfather 2 weeks after he died. I was 19, and I'd always kept a dream journal. I was always very interested in my dreams. I'd draw them, I would write them down. And so and he was the first death I'd ever experienced. And after he died, I was very, very depressed, of course, and it was an open casket. And
mhm.
that was, I know for some people it helps, but for
Right,
me, I hate those because I don't
right.
want to remember them that way. And it made me stop believing in life after death when I saw
Mhm.
his body. And that was a big part of the depression.
Right.
So 2 weeks after his death, I have this dream that we're walking arm in arm through a museum, and I have the awareness that he has died. And I ask him what it's like where he's at. And he says, well, I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that it is secure. He gave
Hmm.
me a hug, turned around and walked up the staircase. And he's walking up the staircase. I start to wake up and I can smell his Old Spice.
Right.
I can feel him. And I just laid there in that dream going, wow, Papa, you were just
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
And I believed in life after death again.
Right.
And that dream was so impactful and powerful that I was like, I got to figure out what this is. It's something I've always been interested in. It's a magical thing that happens. What is it? How does it work? Why do we do it? So I studied dream psychology. So it's not like a psychic gift or anything. I studied it. And then,
Hmm.
there's a psychology to it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Understanding subconscious thought basically is what it is. And long story short, there weren't a lot of people doing this. This is back in
Yeah.
early 90s. there weren't a lot of people doing this. So I just started to get on the radio and it was wildly popular because everyone wants to know.
Right, right.
And then people would say, "Do you have a book?" It's like,
I was,
"No, I should write one." And 3 books
yes,
later, here
yes.
I am. And yeah, I've been doing this since 1996.
That's
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, it's still a unique thing. Like it's not something that I've ever really seen most people kind of
Hmm.
specialize in,
Hmm.
Right.
So it's
It is
still
there's
something
just more and
that's
more of us that are popping up. It is becoming a more accepted
right.
thing. It's not woo woo. It's psychology. It's
Yeah.
very,
Hmm.
very
Yeah.
helpful. It is psychology. And back in the 90s, most psych courses didn't cover dreaming or barely
Right.
scratched the surface. But
Right.
now you're seeing it more and more. I even teach mental health practitioners how to incorporate dream work into their
Nice.
practice. And they've
That's
told me
fantastic.
once I started doing this, we get
Yes.
to the meat of the issue in one session in what would
Hmm.
normally take 5 to 10 sessions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're accessing the subconscious.
Hmm.
You
Where
have the
everything is.
where everything
Hmm.
is.
Everything
Like
is.
you can't avoid it. That's where
Right.
all of that beautiful stuff is, the good, the bad, the happy, the
Yeah.
sad, like
Good, the
you can't
bad, the
avoid
ugly.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't. And yeah, so I am so happy that we got to connect with you and have this conversation today. Thank you so much for coming on to our podcast. I appreciate it. Um, where can people access you? What's your website? What's your book called, or your books? Because
Free books. Yeah.
I want to know what your books are called too. So
Okay, so
that
the latest one is the best. That's the one I recommend.
okay.
It's called Dream on It, like sleep on it.
Oh, I love
Hmm.
that.
Dream on It, unlock your dreams, change your life. Available on Amazon and everywhere.
Hmm.
My website, if you want to have a one-on-one with me, and we
Hmm.
will go very deep and we'll go through every single part of your dream, and we can do this over phone or via video call. It's laurielowenberg.com, but Laurie Lowenberg is hard to spell. So if you just Google Dream Expert, I'm like first, second, and third one.
Amazing.
And all
Love
my
it.
social media is
Mhm.
Laurie the Dream Expert, Lauri, Laurie the Dream Expert on
And we'll
X.
have those
I'm
links
gonna have
Okay,
all
out.
that
great.
linked
Yeah.
to everything so everyone can access this. I appreciate you again for coming on.
Thank you
Thank
for giving me homework.
Yes, you
I'm
get
on
on
it.
that,
I'm
young
on it as
lady.
of tomorrow morning.
assignment. She loves homework.
So I'm on it. So maybe when I start dreaming again, we'll have a one-on-one.
Yeah, that's
Yes, let
amazing.
me know. As soon as you start remembering your
Yeah,
dreams, message me and let me know. I want to know.
will do. Will do. Thank
Okay.
Fantastic.
you.
All
Thank
right. Well, thank
you.
you, ladies.